All right, today we're digging into some fresh data from Gallup to see how AI is really being used in the workplace. And let me tell you, the answer? It's probably not what you're thinking.
I mean, it's the question on everyone's mind, right? We hear all this buzz about AI replacing jobs, revolutionizing industries, but what's actually happening on the ground, on a regular Tuesday morning? Well, it seems it's already here. But this isn't some simple story of robot overlords just showing up. Nope, what the data shows is way more interesting. It's a picture of kind of slow growth, some really big divides, and a pretty shocking disconnect happening inside companies.
Okay, so first things first, let's just look at the big picture numbers. How many people are we even talking about here? And here it is, 45%. As of the third quarter of 2025, that's the portion of U.S. employees who've used AI on the job. I mean, think about that. That's almost half the workforce who has at least dabbled with it.
And yeah, that number is definitely on the rise. It was 40% just the quarter before. But look at the way it's growing. This isn't some crazy overnight explosion. It's a steady climb. More of a slow burn, really.
But here's where it gets really important. When we talk about frequent use, a few times a week or more, that number gets cut in half, down to just 23%. And people using it every single day, that's only 10%. So yeah, lots of people are trying it out, but that deep, can't live without it integration, we are not there yet, not even close.
Okay, so now let's break that down. Because that 45%, it is not spread out evenly across every job in every industry. Not by a long shot.
So you might be wondering, is everyone just jumping on the AI bandwagon? Well, the data is pretty clear on this one. Nope. And wow, just look at this massive gap. In the tech world, a whopping 76% of people are using AI. Finance is pretty high too, at 58%. But then you look at something like retail, and it drops off a cliff, down to just 33%. This isn't one single trend. It's like we're watching two completely different stories unfold at the same time. And this really lays out that divide perfectly. You've got your high adopters on one side. These are your knowledge workers in tech and finance. And then on the other side, you've got your low adopters, your frontline workers in places like retail, healthcare, and manufacturing. Two totally different worlds.
So this brings us to a really fascinating puzzle. If all these employees are using AI, there must be a big corporate plan behind it all, right?
I mean, it just makes sense. You'd assume this is all being pushed from the top down, with companies handing out official tools and clear instructions. But what the data shows is something else entirely.
Okay, get ready for this, because this is pretty wild. Only 37% of people say their company has implemented AI. 40% say no. But look at that last number, that giant 23% slice of people who just say, I don't know. Almost a quarter of the entire workforce has zero clue what their company's plan for AI is. That's huge.
And what does that mean? Well, Gallup spells it out for us. It means a ton of this AI use is basically happening off the books. It's shadow IT. People are bringing in their own tools, playing around with them, and doing it all without any connection to an official company strategy. And it seems like the further you get from the executive suite, the foggier the picture becomes. More than a quarter of individual employees are totally in the dark about their company's AI plan. For managers, it's 16%. For leaders, only 7%. Clearly, whatever message is coming from the top, it's just not making it down the chain.
So, okay, if people are basically going rogue and figuring this out for themselves, what are they actually doing with it? Well, the top 3 uses are all about wrangling information. People are using it to consolidate stuff, to make sense of a big pile of documents. They're using it to generate ideas for brainstorming, and they're using it to learn new things. So it's really being used as a personal efficiency and creativity booster. And the tools they're using totally back this up. Over 60% are using chatbots and virtual assistants. And that makes perfect sense, right? These are the tools that are super easy to access, the ones we all know from our personal lives that are now being brought into the office. The really specialized stuff, much less common.
But this is where we see another divide pop up. Those frequent users, that 23% group, they're playing a different game. They're way more likely to be using the heavy-duty stuff like coding assistants and data science tools. It really shows the difference between people who are just casually experimenting and those who are truly integrating it into their core workflow.
So, let's just recap. What we have is this kind of messy picture. We've got people adopting AI from the bottom up, a massive communication gap from the top down, and these deep divides between different jobs. The big question is, what's the solution? How do you fix this?
We can basically call this the adoption paradox.
You've got AI use growing, which is good, but it's happening in this wild, organic way that's totally disconnected from any real strategy. And the result is that the integration is shallow and all over the place.
And the answer, at least according to Gallup, isn't what you might think. It's not about getting better technology or a fancier AI model. Turns out, it's not about the tech at all. The real missing piece of the puzzle is human. It's all about your manager.
So Gallup's advice here is really straightforward. First, companies need to stop thinking tech first and start thinking people first. Build a strategy that makes employees feel supported and confident. And second, you have to empower your managers. They're the ones on the ground who can actually translate a big corporate plan into something that makes sense for their team's day-to-day work.
And that really brings it all back to a final question for you to think about. What's the AI conversation like where you work? Is it a clear, top-down strategy? A quiet, bottom-up experiment? Or is there just silence? Because how you answer that question probably says a whole lot about where your company is going next.